Well, hey everybody, I am Kari the Mortician, and I am here with Ryan and Brian from Undertaking the Podcast. They're licensed funeral directors down in Indiana, so they know their stuff just as well, which is awesome. They have their podcast that they do on all things kind of funeral related as well. So you're the sound side of the business, not the visual side of the business, which is fun. So we're here with our beers. Yeah, I like that it's in a mug. You seem to drink out of a mug, which is interesting.
This is our second episode. I'm going to make a thing out of having it in a mug.
Have different mugs. Maybe
Yes.
people start sending you mugs too.
Send me all your mugs you want, people.
So
The
guys do not know the topics I'm throwing at them for these videos. So it's kind of off the cuff, our thoughts from being funeral directors and just being in the business about the topics I'm going to throw at them. So this first one, what do you prefer to be called as your profession? Like, what terms do you like? What terms do you dislike?
I prefer funeral director and embalmer, and that's simply that. I have no negative feelings towards Undertaker, Mortician. Off the cuff, that's about all I can think of. But yeah, I've got no negative feelings on those two. I just prefer funeral director.
What about you, Ryan?
I'm in the same boat. I think too, there's from a standpoint of Mortician, the standpoint of Undertaker, there's a lot of history that goes with those names. As funeral service has kind of developed over time here in America, or just really anywhere. So, I give those names props and much respect, because it's the experience before us that kind of paves the way. But I prefer embalmer and funeral director and embalmer. It doesn't matter either or what the order is, just those two.
I think when I was kind of renaming my channel, it made me really think about the titles. And, some states like Ohio, there are different roles, funeral director and embalmer. So, and if you like both of them, like you guys do, where you're a one licensed state, it depends which hat you put on that day, technically, what you're going to do. That's why, like, Mortician was the easiest to kind of rolled off the tongue, and I kept just saying Undertaker. When you type that in, you get WWE wrestling, so it was just too much. So
You're right about that.
It does. That's all. Anything came up if you would Google more Undertaker. But Mortician is kind of that old horror movie motif to it as well. So it was a little dirgy, but it works. Now, the new name, though, is the last responder. So especially Ryan is kind of a first responder. What is the take on this last responder thing that's kind of coming about with the new generation of funeral directors? How do you guys feel about that?
I don't know. I don't know what to think of it yet. That got kind of labeled on us during this COVID era. Everybody had the last responder thing, around their Facebook profile. And, I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know, like I said, I don't know exactly what to say about it. It's interesting to me that is now becoming a part of the conversation within funeral service, being the last responder. I'm just not sure where it goes. I guess I don't have a problem with it. It's interesting. I think it's like anything else. We've gone from Undertaker, Mortician to funeral director and embalmer, and now something else is coming into play, I guess. So I'm not going to say it's a bad thing, but it's interesting, the development of it, I guess, is where I'm going with that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not real hip on last responder. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because it's the trendy thing to do to put the circle around your face. And I'm kind of anti-trendy in just my general life.
Yeah.
But I don't get the real creeps from it either. So I don't despise it. I doubt we're going to be seeing funeral homes names being changed to, Brian's last responders. Maybe. I mean, why not? But
yeah,
that'd be catchy. But it's just not for me at the moment.
I feel like it sounds like we showed up just a little too late. Like, Whoops. Well, I guess you're the last ones that are going to respond. It's like you're racing with EMTs and they got their last and it's too late. And then, okay, I'll take the person. I don't know. There's some weird, like, it's okay and it's fun, but with that too is the shirts and the bumper stickers and all of a sudden all this accoutrement that goes along with. Do you think some of that is going too far? What have you seen that is maybe taking, hey, I'm an undertaker, I'm a mortician, I'm a last responder, too far? Or what have you seen that's really fun?
I'll say this. I think there's times, I don't necessarily need to announce anything. I think people know what your profession is and whatever else. I feel like some of the last responder stuff, especially when it came to the COVID thing, were a lot of pats on the back, things of people, people maybe wanting to grab some validation, and that's fine. Yeah. I don't know that that's really the route. You had a lot of people going through some pretty hard things here, and just because you're a last responder doesn't mean, we talked to people in New York. Kari, you've talked to plenty of people. There were people really doing some major things here, and that's the type of thing that needs to be highlighted, not exactly, what it is I do, what it is we do. I think, there were a lot of people that were dealt, just some tough hands. And they came through. They've done well. So, when last responder for me, that highlights them, man. I felt like sometimes things are done for pats on the back, and maybe that's not the route you should go.
It's a good point, Ryan. I mean, I go back to what we've heard on the podcast, and just exactly that, we've had a funeral director tell us that, you do your job and you get paid, and that's, you don't need praise. You're not in it for praise per se, but you're in it to make a living and do your job and do it properly. I mean, I think we have, as funeral directors, we've been beat down since, early 60s and been stigmatized and mocked, and it's tough. I mean, when someone meets a funeral director, they're like, so when we were labeled, at least federally, that we were recommended to be labeled essential in statewide planning, that was a big thing for all us. But one of the questions I had posed to me from a funeral director caught me just out in public and pulled me aside. And he goes, listen, I've got funeral homes in my areas that aren't accepting COVID patients, and they're not embalming COVID patients. And he goes, you want to be labeled essential, but you're not doing your job? And I'm going, that's a great point. I mean, I can't argue that just for a devil's advocate. I can't. If you can't do it, you're not essential.
I think it was two different people. A lot of that, like the people who were doing the work and wanted just a little recognition, and not always the people that were not doing the work saying, hey, look at me, I'm awesome, sort of thing. It was maybe two different sides, but of course everybody gets grouped together. I think there were, some people like, I can't even get my free breakfast at McDonald's for an essential worker because they won't have a funeral director to have it. And, you see everybody, we're bringing meals to the hospital, or we're bringing meals to this. And the funeral directors are like working 36 hours straight, and nobody was bringing them meals. And so we can see some of those where somebody wanted some, just, hey, look at me for 1 second and say, good job. And then I can keep going. And
yeah, you mentioned that. And one thing that popped in my mind instantly is all the funeral homes across the country providing meals for frontline workers, to the nurses, to the hospitals. Right. Funeral directors are stepping up and saying thank you to the people that are right there on the front, because we are just a little bit behind them.
Yeah.
No, I think you're right though, Kari. I think you're right from a standpoint, because we felt that in pre-hospital care where EMS versus fire, there's always been a little bit of button heads there. And I've got my own take on it, and those that want to talk off air about that, we can. But, I think it's one of those things where there does come some validation too, and being lumped all in one, maybe that's for the betterment of it. But there are, I think you're right. There are some people that, probably need to have that.
That pat on the back. When I think some of, going back to that initiating of that last responder term is making it kind of trendier. maybe trying to make what we do be cool, because it's a lot of students. A lot of students are wanting the shirts and the everything. And, you know, maybe we put a cool spin on what we do, and maybe more people think, oh, that's kind of fun. Oh, go ahead.
We definitely got thrown out there in the news a lot. I mean, we were talked about a lot. We were, you know, some of the things that were happening, whether they were good or bad, were all being talked about, you know, because we had to do something. You know, a lot of people on the East Coast, there had to be things changed up completely just to manufacture and process people. So, you know, it was interesting. It was interesting, I think, being talked about. You're definitely right about that. No,
I think it's good. I don't love the people that like drive around their personal car that has like over the top stuff on it. Like, I'm the last responder, I'm the funeral director, I want to embalm you better, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't know that I
What'd you just say? I want to embalm you better.
I want to embalm you better. I don't know where that came from. Like,
I like it.
Next week for sale is no. I want to embalm you better. Oh goodness. But people that kind of go over the top with some of that. It's a bit much. But
yeah. Well, I don't know where I'm at with the merch aspect of it. I don't know. I mean, you know, maybe it's something that puts funeral directors in a better light. Maybe we can create more conversation, positive conversation with that title. I don't know. You know, it's just different, you know, and I think it's just something like anything else. When you go through this process in time, there are things that are going to evolve as well, whether that's our name, whether what we do evolves. I mean, you know, it's just
a new name for what we do. I said there needs to be a new word for what we do. When I was looking for, you know, like Kari the whatever the name, I was like, there needs to be a new word. Like, I just need to come up with some new word and make it be catchy. And I don't know what that would be, but.
Well, you got the people that listen, you know.
I know.
Shout out, drop it in the comments. We want to know the new word.
Well, and everything was so long. It was like the caring and compassionate and, you know, like all the, you know, things about me that people maybe like. And I'm like, no, I just need one word. One word.
One word. Yeah. When I start to hear that stuff, I kind of get a little.
I know.
You know, it's like, oh, you care. Great. Okay, you're supposed to anyway. You know, you know, you're compassionate. You've got exemplary service. And it's like, okay, you know, moving on.
It's the cliche words. It's what I tell students. Do not put these on your resume because they're boring. Like, you shouldn't be applying for this job if you don't already have all those. So sweep them under the rug and go to the new fun words. So, well, cool. Well, thank you guys for chatting a little about terms that define our business. So cheers, everyone. Catch Undertaking the Podcast on any podcast place you can go. Any of them. And rate,
any of them.
Rate, review, and subscribe to, did I get all three of them?
You're on it. Rate, review, subscribe. We're excited to have listenership, followership, yada, yada. Also, if you want, I've got an awesome hat that I got. It says, you don't know what you don't know. I wear it all the time. You wouldn't believe within some of the different circles I run with, you know, within politics, people are like, I need a hat like that. It's unreal.
Politics. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's crazy. They love it because it's a true statement. Very true.
It's true. I mean, it's so blatantly obvious, but it's so good.
Yeah. And because my daughter listens to so much YouTube, I know what to do. So folks, mash that like button, hit the subscribe, and you'll see more of Kari.
That's right. And make sure you subscribe so you can see when the next Beer with the Boys video pops up. See you guys later. Bye.
Right on. Rock on, guys. Rock and roll.